So, music section, we finally have new music from former Atreyu vocalist Alex Varkatsis, as well as touring news from Gwar, and Gorgoroth is in the news, in the regular old news for, very interesting reasons. So let's get into the music section, shall we? Welcome, nerds, to the music news for the week. This is a chunk taken out of the much larger full-length show over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Here in the music section, we like to talk about recent releases, upcoming releases, as well as tour dates being announced, festivals being announced, just regular music-associated news and the whatnot. This week in news, this stuff happened. There are no follow-ups or corrections once again this week, but we do have another boatload of new music, so let's jump into that, shall we? First up in new music, Keanu Reeves' band Dogstar has released another single from their forthcoming record. New single is called Breach. New album is coming out October 6th. It's called Somewhere Between the Power Lines and the Palm Trees. This is, I was hoping there would be some sort of change. Maybe the last single was just the single, and this is something a little bit more indicative of the style, which that second part's right. This is definitely indicative of the style, not more so than the first single though, because still just some really solid 90s alt rock, which that statement is just as dated as it sounds. Not bad, just not anything to write home about necessarily. Solid radio rock. I'm sure their target audience is going to eat this up. I just don't know that it's going to win over any new target audience. Then we've got Dead Icarus has released their first single. The name of the song is Sellout. This is, if you do not remember, the name of the band that Alex Varkatsis started once he left Atreyu. So this is the other side of the Atreyu split. This song is good and heavy and very, very metalcore. And I think this is the side of the split I'm going with. I still love the stuff that Atreyu has been doing since Alex left, but I think I like this Dead Icarus stuff much, much more. If you like the heavier side of Atreyu, then this is going to be for you. If you're curious as to what metalcore is, then this is going to be for you. This is solidly produced, solidly performed. I think there are some interesting sections for his voice, and when he goes into the melodic parts, Alex definitely was a lot stronger when he had Brandon to help him with the melodic parts. Not that he can't do melody, it's just he's much better at the abrasive, screamy vocals. So either way, definite hardcore recommend for this new Dead Icarus track, Sellout. Next up is a new single from Lacey Sturm, formerly of Flyleaf, kind of sort of back with Flyleaf, but this is not a Flyleaf track. This is a solo track featuring Lindsey Stirling. Kind of forgot Lindsey Stirling was doing things still, honestly. Not to throw shade necessarily, but just not on my radar for whatever reason. So this is a pretty solid song as far as production goes. Lacey's voice is always amazing. Lindsey's playing is always fantastic, but therein lies my one critique for this. I feel like Lindsey really gets buried in the mix. Her violin just does not stand out in this mix. The gain is just way too low. When you're featuring a violin player, maybe bring the violin up in the mix a little bit to match the vocals, since that's your featured artist. Either way, solid song, great production aside from that one critique, and just go check it out. Absolutely. Lacey Sturm. The name of the song, I don't know why I didn't go this way, it's called Breathe With Me. Sorry, it took me a second to get to that part. Then we're talking about new single from OTEP off of her new record, The God Slayer, out September 15th. The name of this track is Ostracized, and this is the first original track that she's released from this album. Previously, we talked about the Billie Eilish cover and how it was pretty interesting and well done. This track definitely still pretty well produced. There is some issues as far as like OTEP's voice goes. Production on the instrumentation is exactly what you would expect out of metalcore, new metal, however you want to subgenreize OTEP. But so OTEP has kind of three styles of vocal. She has accent vocal, she has her main melodic vocal, which is usually the same kind of mix as like her rappy vocal, so I count them as the same. And then she has her abrasive scream vocals that are the focus when she's doing them. this does not acknowledge that third vocal. This only acknowledges the first two, the main melodic and hip-hop elements, as well as the accent vocal, which is kind of a scream, but it's not the same delivery that she gives for it, and it's definitely mixed the same for her. It was pretty underwhelming in that regard. Otherwise, pretty damn good. This is a moderate recommend. I'm not apprehensive, but it's not winning over any new fans or anything. But still, go check out the new OTEP track, won't you? Then let's talk about the new Dotry single. It's called Artificial. He was quoted in an interview recently saying that this new single is kind of a return to his roots, if you will, which not entirely sure exactly what that means, because as far as I know, his roots are like contemporary alternative, and that's kind of what this is, I guess. This is a little bit more aggressive than I expected, considering that quote. There's not any real standout moments of this track, though, save for a very brief bridge at the end where it's kind of a taste of what could have been. You get a little bit more aggressive vocal as well as more aggressive instrumentation, and that is very, very interesting. The rest of this track feels very, very active rock, radio, the octane core kind of stuff. So not terrible, very well produced. He always works with good producers, but just not standout track necessarily. So if you like Dotry, you'll like this. If you like heavy music even slightly, you'll probably have an appreciation for this, but again, not winning over any new listeners. Next is an artist that we haven't really talked about on this channel before, I don't think. Artist name is Ashaniko. The name of the track is Cheerleader. Believe it or not, I am a little bit of a fan of Ashaniko. I really dig a fair amount of her stuff. I've listened to quite a bit of it at this point. And so this new track, Cheerleader, is kind of more of the same standout stuff. I don't know exactly what the subgenre would be. Female modern hip-hop, something, I don't know. But modern rap, I guess, would probably be slightly more appropriate, but whatever, it's good. Production on her stuff is always top-notch. I don't know if she produces herself or if she has like a friend that is her producer or something along those lines. I'm not that well-versed in Ashaniko, but if you're looking for something a little bit off the beaten path as far as like pop style music goes, with kind of a more edgy rap kind of sound, then look no further. Ashaniko's good stuff. Go check out Cheerleader. It's gonna show you what she's all about for sure. Lyrically, production-wise, and just performance-wise in general. Next up is a band that I found through the YouTube algorithm. Partially, we're talking about these guys because of the guest vocal on here, Phil Bozeman. The name of the band is Torn Soul. The name of the track is Unearthed, and once again, featuring Phil Bozeman from Whitechapel. I am a huge Whitechapel fan, so I was very intrigued when I saw him in the thumbnail and name-dropped in the title of the video, so I checked it out, and solid deathcore from some kids who really seem to understand the genre. And not just that. This is not just like middle grade deathcore. This is a bunch of kids who are trying something a little bit different, adding some more melody into a genre that doesn't really have much. It's kind of awesome. The lead guitar track in this song, especially once you get to the solo and then from that point to the end of the song, is really stand out in a genre of very talented musicians. I feel like these kids really have figured out a way to set themselves apart. So absolutely wholehearted recommend this new Torn Soul track, Unearthed. Speaking of deathcore, we have another new track from Russia's Forgotten Sons, Slaughter to Prevail. This is from their forthcoming new record, which doesn't have a name or a release date or anything yet, but we have a first single and I'm here for it. It's called Viking. This is not what I was expecting when I found out that they had lost their second guitar, I guess potentially their lead guitar. I don't know how the balance acts, but they lost one of their two guitar players since they recorded their last record. So generally, the expectation when something like that happens is things are going to get a little less intricate, maybe even stepping back from the heavy a bit. And maybe that first piece is accurate. They probably did step back on the intricate guitar pieces a bit, but definitely stepped up the heavy in response, because wow, I was not expecting this to be this balls out heavy, just crazy, crazy good stuff from Slaughter to Prevail. Very excited about this new record. If you are curious as to standout acts in the deathcore subgenre, this is a band to keep your eye on, and this is a great song to start with. And then, very much switching gears in a completely different genre once again, we're going with this new track that's kind of gone viral, gone a little crazy across the internet because of reasons. Oliver Anthony is the name of the artist. The name of the song is Rich Men North of Richmond. This is more Americana, outlaw country, if you will. I hate that title for this kind of music. It's Americana. This is music of the middle class. This is the kind of stuff that your grandparents listened to when they were out working whatever manual labor jobs that they were working, or at this point your great-grandparents, depending on your age. If you're a younger millennial, elder Gen Zer, then it was probably your great-grandparents who would have listened to stuff like this. And that doesn't degrade the quality of it because it is an older style of music. That actually kind of elevates it in a lot of ways. And this guy is doing the thing that I wish that Tyler Childers had continued to do. So he is very early in his career, so maybe he will take a more production side turn like Childers did. But this is like thematically and just the content of the lyrics is absolutely speaks to many people, and he's a hell of a player too. He's definitely not as good as Childers when it comes to playing the guitar, but when it comes to turning a phrase and writing a lyric, man, he knows probably equally as well how to do that as Tyler Childers. So a man to keep your eye on and a song to check out. There are a bunch of others of his songs that are out that are worth listening to, but we're talking about this one specifically because it's kind of the big one, so I couldn't resist. All right, that brings us into the tours and festivals portion of the music section. So starting things off, we have Dragonforce have announced their next North American tour. They will be getting support from AMARANTHE, NANOWAR of Steel, and Edge of Paradise. Don't know who those second two bands are. NANOWAR of Steel and Edge of Paradise, never heard of them. The tour, though, starts October 20th in Mesa, Arizona, runs through November 19th in Los Angeles, California, and tickets, I would imagine, are going on sale soon, though I didn't find a link doing my research, so before we publish, hopefully I'll have a link for you. Otherwise, just go to the Dragonforce website, and you'll probably be able to get them from there. Next up is the one that we teased in the intro for the main section, main show, and that is Gwar! Gwar! The band, the bloodiest band in the world, in the galaxy even. Gwar has announced that they are going on a North American tour called the Age of Imbeciles Tour. It is going to be supported by Negative Approach, Ex-Cops, and Cancer Christ. Haven't heard of Ex-Cops and only heard of Cancer Christ, but Negative Approach is not bad, so that's kind of interesting. Starts October 11th in Hampden Beach, New Hampshire. Runs through October 30th in Orlando, Florida. Fairly limited tour dates. Tickets as of filming this episode are not on sale yet, though hopefully, once again, I will be able to find a pre-sale link for you because pre-sale starts when this should be posted, and that is Wednesday the 16th, and then the regular tickets go on sale on Friday, I believe it's the 19th. So definitely check that out. Gwar going on tours, always a beautiful thing. And that's what we have for the tour section. And that brings us into regular ass news. In regular ass news, we have Gorgoroth, one of the OG black metal bands, Gorgoroth, their guitar player and founding member, Infernus, notes. Infernus was attacked after their performance at Beyond the Gates Festival in Norway just this last week. And I say attacked to the point where he is in a hospital. He is in stable condition. He's tweeting and he's definitely communicating with the press, but it took a couple of days. He was attacked after a show. He didn't give any specifics in his update and didn't say exactly what his injuries were, but he did have to undergo surgery. What kind of surgery, again, has been left undisclosed, but he is doing better and he commends his bandmates for continuing with their touring obligations, like you should. If you are a working musician, you kind of have to do these things even when tragedy strikes, and they haven't missed a beat, so far so good. And if there is any sort of significant update for this, then we will be talking about it again. Otherwise, we're just going to assume that things are going to go as planned and we won't have to touch on this one again, unless it's like a hate crime or like some weird like socialist person decided that they didn't like, well, I don't know. I have nothing, but that's what we got for our regular ass news. Which only leaves suggestions for this episode. Suggestion this week for music is Mastodon's Leviathan. This is the record that kind of put them on the map. It's definitely not their first record being Remission, and then they have a self-released one before that even. But Leviathan is the one that they released back in 2004 on Relapse. This is the Moby Dick record, and I mean, just pure prog metal brilliance. I feel like they've kind of been living up to this for some time and hitting the mark by and large. Some of their stuff has kind of come in a little bit underneath it, but really not by much. And when this is your standard for great, I mean, just a little bit below that is still pretty freaking amazing. So absolutely, your recommendation this week for music is Mastodon's Leviathan. Go check it out. Once again, this is just the music section. There is a much longer show called The Week in Nerddom over on the main channel, youtube.com/generallynerdy. Go check out the entire show or just subscribe here and do all of the things. Appreciate your faces, nerds. Before we go though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.